We're talking with a Cascade County Sheriff's Deputy and the head of Search and Rescue, so you aren't just winging it when you go to the Sluice Boxes, the Highwood Mountains, the Little Belts, or anywhere else in the Great Falls area. We'll cover what not to do so you don't become a cautionary tale and how to recreate safely. That's coming up on this episode of We're No Damn Experts.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You want to get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames. If you want to go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
I'm Shannon Newth,
and we're No Damn Experts. And today's podcast is being recorded on a Monday.
Oof, Monday morning.
Yep.
Love that, yeah.
I love when we got that, and I have no freaking clue what we're doing today.
This is my new favorite thing to just give you no information.
Our guest in the studio is wearing a uniform from the Cascade County Sheriff's Department.
Sheriff's office.
Okay.
Yes,
It's
not
very
department.
important.
It is
Very
it is
different?
important.
Okay.
There is a differentiation.
Great. We're going to
correct.
learn a lot.
Yes,
Kids,
we have a
let's
man
strap
in
up.
uniform. Yes, we have Logan Livingston here with the Cascade County Sheriff's Office. Hi, do you want to tell me I'm spacing Lieutenant, Sergeant, Corporal,
None of the
Deputy,
above.
Detective? Yeah, what's your title?
Deputy.
Deputy.
Yep.
That's what that's what I thought, but I wanted to give you to Deputy Livingston. He's here.
Okay.
Yes.
And he's with the sheriff's office,
That's
not the
correct.
department. Do we have both of those things in our county?
Well, first off, hello. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
So the sheriff's office, because the sheriff is elected.
Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
not
So,
a department.
correct.
So-
Okay.
The police department exists because
They're
they
not.
are not elected.
Ah,
They're appointed.
we're
Mhm.
learning stuff already, kids.
Good stuff. So Deputy Livingston is here to talk about a variety of things, and we'll get into that. But one of the main focuses is he is part of Search and Rescue,
Oh.
and and helps out, especially like one of our favorite places, the Sluice Boxes, where we tell people to go.
Oh, yes.
He is going to help share just some helpful tips to maybe not have to interact with him in a negative way on
This
trip.
is so
Yeah.
important because my husband has decided that he wants to get in a raft or a canoe or some type of kayak and float Belt Creek.
Well,
and
you're going to have some wonderful questions for me then.
And I said, we had done an episode, you can go back and listen to it with Roland Taylor. And he's like, yeah, we did it. You really need to do kind of expert level stuff at certain times of the year. And so when I told my husband, I'm like, I don't think we're equipped for this. And he goes, no, I see people doing it all the time. I'm like, but do you see people
My gosh, your husband
like
is the
us
prime reason
doing
why
it
we're doing
all
this
the
podcast.
time? So before we dig into all my really pertinent questions right now,
Yeah.
you've really hit a fun topic.
That's why I surprised her.
great.
It's more fun.
Tell us about yourself, Logan. Social security number, first kiss, things you're looking for in your first house where you live so we can walk by it, those type of things. But mostly, are you a Great Falls kid? Where you come from? How long you been in our town?
Yeah. So I've been in Great Falls my entire life.
Okay,
I'm
Great
a,
Falls kid.
Great Falls High graduate.
All right, Bison. Mm-hmm.
hmm
Good deal.
So I didn't really make it far. I went to the
Hey,
University
you
of
have
Great
made it far.
Falls,
Okay.
University of Providence now,
Mhm.
but got my bachelor's degree from there. I've
In
been,
what?
Oh, great question.
Thank you.
Criminal justice forensic
I
investigations.
was wondering.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My original
seems
plan
applicable.
Yeah.
was yeah, it is. My original plan was to do like CSI field work, so
Okay.
crime scene investigation field work. My grandmother lived over in the Portland, Vancouver area
Ooh.
and had a basement apartment in her house. I'm like, oh, when I graduate, I'll go do that.
Yeah.
And then I decided to not leave Montana.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
very
that's what
nice.
kept me here.
In a way, some of what you do is just not as like glamorized as what people think of
No.
when they think CSI, but you use those skills.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being the size of an office that we are,
Mhm.
I've used those skills more than I thought I would. Yeah. So that's good. Started with the sheriff's office in 2015. I worked over on the detention side, did that for 2.5 years. I was on transport for 1.5 years of that. And then in 2018, got sworn in as a deputy sheriff.
So you've had some interesting road trips around Montana. Is that what that means, transport?
Yes, yes. I've been most everywhere in Montana to pick folks up and bring them back.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give them a ride.
Yeah. Also, maybe not a situation you want to see.
Well, you're not using him as
either.
an
Nope.
Uber. I can tell you that.
Right.
It's not like you're self-selecting, like, oh, I'd like a ride today for this particular purpose.
Yeah, no, it's
not so much.
not exactly
Yeah.
a comfortable
Nope.
ride.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so since 2018, deputy now, and you're also involved with the school system in the
Yes.
county as well. Tell us about that.
yeah, so we have a pseudo search, or excuse me, we're talking about search and rescue today, but pseudo school resource officer patrol deputy position called community resource deputy. Last year, I was in the Belt and Centerville area. I was also the Belt resident deputy for the previous 3 years. And then this year, I was moved over to Cascade and Ulm. So that's what that's what my current full-time job is working in the schools, working with school safety and helping educate law enforcement and the community schools in a lot of active shooter response.
Oh, yeah. That is the thing you have to remember to learn about.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a necessary evil, I suppose, in today's. But we want to talk more about search and rescue. I was like, we could go down a long journey with that, but that's maybe not what our podcast is
Because
about.
I had
so.
a weird story to tell, and I even held myself back. I'm like, oh, no, we're not going to share that.
Yeah.
That was a weird one.
That's a different direction than we go on this podcast. Yeah. How long have you been involved with the search and rescue component?
I've been a search and rescue coordinator since 2019.
Okay. What led you into that? Tell us about how you got into that and the coordinator position.
Well, I have always been in the outdoors, so obviously a interest there in being outdoors. Got into law enforcement because I like to help people, so that allowed me to do that. Really, where the coordination aspect came from was when I was in college. I was also a contract wildland firefighter.
Oh.
So working on big scenes in that aspect, and then coming into the sheriff's office, I already had a background in FEMA incident command systems, and that just kind of naturally rolled over into search and rescue coordinator.
So I just got wrapped up doing the Sheriff's Office Citizen Academy, and Logan was there presenting on search and rescue. And part of that was you talked a lot about the Sluice Boxes, which is an area we talk about a lot because we love to send people there. This is an area, though, that you guys have responded to because there's a variety of possible terrain and issues.
Really? You don't think it's because people who shouldn't be getting into a kayak at Logging Creek to float down Belt Creek?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah. Maybe you should lead off the question. Yes. This one.
So this time of year, we're getting rain today, but we haven't had a lot of rain. But the snow is melting and the water looks enticing, much like my husband had said. Like, oh, it looks amazing. We need to do this. I don't think we do. So when are the good times for novice people to float on the Belt Creek? Or what are the things that people need to consider before they're like, we can do this because we've never done it before in our life. This looks like fun. Let's make it happen. Because I have been told earlier in the year, not really a great plan. Later in the year, better plan, but no water. So
That's exactly it. So people like to think that by going early in the year, they're going to have plenty of water. But they forget with the amount of rain that we get this time of year, the snow melt off. The water levels are great. However, the water flow is not. There's too much water flow.
which means it's going too fast.
Going way too fast.
Yeah.
And if you are a novice getting onto Belt Creek right now, you're not going to be able to navigate the corners as more expert individuals
How
might be able
about
to.
even just as someone who might have done that before, like just one time down the water, then you'd actually know where the bends and the turns are, because there isn't really a road that follows Belt Creek from the whole way. So you don't just get to see it from the road and go, oh, it bends up here. The only way you know that is if you're on the water and you're like, oh, it bends. We got to bend. Some people don't know how to bend.
Yeah, for for Belt Creek, unless you're Lewis and Clark, and you're mapping it out as you go, it would be good to go your first, second, maybe third time with somebody that's done it before, and they're going to have the equipment that can handle it. One of the issues that we really run into with Belt Creek is we have a Walmart on the way out of town that direction.
Please
Do you
keep
see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, because you want to know what my husband's suggestion was?
Stop there.
Yeah, we can get one of them inflatable rafts they sell at Walmart.
Yep, I was going to say,
Bingo.
like those fun flamingo ones. Probably
No.
not.
I have had that.
He has, I mean, it looks like a real raft.
Yeah.
It's $20 at Walmart. I'm like, I don't think it's a real
It's going
raft.
to puncture easily.
And he goes, no, he goes, look at the humans. And I'm like, they look like children. They look like two children in a pool.
In a pool.
Yes.
And you want to put it on a real rapid creek.
And he's not a child
No.
physically.
And he's never done it before. How can I say this more times?
Right.
Yeah,
Oh, dear.
no, those are
Yeah,
great
he's-
for like if you're gonna go to Holter, maybe.
Yeah.
And staying close to the shore.
Or in August and at the lower part of Belt Creek where you find like a little small body of water that it's not going to go away from you
Yeah.
because it's very dry in that area.
Well, and the water's very low, so you're not gonna just float off.
Yeah. That's the
You can
safe way to
actually
do
You
just
could
sit
this.
just
in it.
sit there and be happy.
Splash some water
Maybe
on
take
your
a sweet
face.
Instagram pic too.
Yeah,
Look at
right.
me.
Like
I'm
from
rafting Belt Creek.
Rafting, yeah. Okay. So for people like, as Rebecca says, her current spouse,
Yes.
what? How do you get through to these people? What
Well,
do you tell them?
Also, there will just come a point when I tell him, yeah, go buy a kayak and go do Belt Creek on your own here in April. I think it's a great idea.
And just let
And then I'll get a different spouse.
human nature take its course.
I'm done being your spouse because I can't.
I can't convince
prevent
you
this
otherwise. You have to learn by
so,
experience,
yeah.
like a toddler.
Here's a kayak. I bought
Yeah.
it for you.
well, this is this would be a great way to get through to people at least visiting Great Falls. Do not swing by Walmart and pick up a kayak or a raft on your way to Belt Creek. Majority of the times that we have contacts with people, it comes in as a river rescue for us, is because they swung by Walmart, picked up that $20 raft that has children-sized adults on the picture, and
Makes you feel safe inside.
inflated it at the top, and then they don't make it very far. I will bring us back to the water issue too.
It's good.
Good-
Keeping
good
us on
plan.
track. Yep.
So, early in the season, there's too much water flow, so it's moving too fast. It's difficult to navigate the waterways. Really, there's a small window when working or floating the creek is actually reasonable for somebody that's new to it. You wait till August, all the snow melt off has happened. We rarely get any rain in this region. So really August is a no-go too. Where you put in might be good. You
you're not
might
going very
make it
far.
far enough down to really get into trouble.
Yeah.
Before you know it, your watercraft will bottom out and now you're stuck, deflated. Both the flotation device and, your ego.
Yeah. Just sad.
Well,
so when is the optimum time? And have you ever floated Belt Creek yourself? Off duty.
You know, that's a great question. No, I have not.
Okay.
I have.
like I've seen enough of that happen there.
It's one of those things where you deal with it enough, you don't want to do it yourself.
Yeah.
It is hands down one of the most beautiful areas that we have here.
Yes.
You know, we do have so many search and rescue events out in that area that there comes times where there's a lot of talk of shutting it down as a state park. I'm just really happy that hasn't actually gone anywhere.
Yeah.
because I do think it's important that people can get out there and enjoy that area. It really is that beautiful. But we got to be smart when we go out there. And I'm not trying to talk poorly against Walmart. However, it's not the play. Go to a legitimate sporting goods store, spend the money. You pay for what you get when it comes to any type of outdoor equipment. I kind of forget what the question was, though. I really went down a path. Sorry.
No, that was it.
So what kind, other than, because you get called out, I would assume other times, there was an incident a couple years ago. This is where I'm going to date my mind. Kids, younger adults, I don't know, people, humans, were in Sluice Boxes State Park, kind of camping, backcountry camping, and that didn't go according to plan, and someone needed to be rescued, or they separated, which is what they teach you in every horror movie. Like, don't stay together. Let's take two different paths, and we'll cover more ground that way. So that it doesn't always have to be water related when you're called in.
Correct. I think I know which one you're referring to. Was it wintertime?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I thought camping in winter's I love camping, but I don't think camping in winter's a hot idea ever.
People
The
love
weather
it.
changes
They
very
do.
quickly.
There's some people who love it, and
Mhm.
Probably because I'm at the helm of this joint, we've never promoted winter camping. But there are people out there that do love it.
Yeah. Well, I've talked about my friends who go rafting every month of the year,
Yeah.
including January. So
Do
anyway.
they slide down the ice? I'm trying to figure out how that one works.
On the Missouri, not on Belt Creek, so the water's still flowing. Yeah. Anyway, back to them.
So we do respond to water issues out in the sluice boxes. Majority of the time, it's a lot of hikers. The one that you're referring to specifically, there was a severe winter warning that came in. I believe it was a day before they took off, so they were aware of it when they stepped off to start that venture. There is a old train tunnel. So there used to be a train that actually ran through that area.
Because of the mining history in that.
Yes. So the idea was that they would start. There's two different parking lots at the state park. There's a lower and the upper state park or parking lots. They started at the upper parking lot and they hiked in, if I remember right, about 6 miles to the train tunnel. And then as one does, they built a fire right there in the train tunnel. And
Seems like a good plan so far.
Yep. Which I assume probably provided enough heat. And because it was wintertime, they didn't have enough provisions as far as gear went.
Oh.
And as a fire does, when you fall asleep, it went out. We believe that hypothermia had already started to set in. There was a lot of panic that occurred, and both of them took off running.
Oh.
Very unintentionally, they got separated. One individual slid down, and the other one said, "I'm going to go get help. Stay there." Well, the one that slid down was the one that we actually came in contact with on the main road.
Oh.
A local out in that area picked him up, brought him home, got him warmed up, and that's actually what started the search and rescue effort there.
So do you obviously have to cover more than just Belt Creek. It's for the whole county.
Yes.
So where else? I mean, because then the Missouri River comes into play.
It does.
Sun River to an extent comes into play. Little Belts, Highwood Mountains.
So as far as waterways, Belt Creek, the Smith River,
Oh yeah.
Missouri River, Dearborn River. That's majority of our waterway focuses within this county. However, our unit is big enough that we get asked by other counties quite frequently to come assist. So Lake Elwell. North of us. We go up there
Another
quite a
good
bit.
place. The fishing is fantastic as the storm's coming in. at Tiber Reservoir.
Oh.
So if you wait really a long time, to the point where it's questionable if you'll even make it
Looks
back
like
to
this advice might not be the best.
Don't follow that,
Yeah.
but continue.
yeah, fishing turned out great. The ride back to dock was not fantastic. And I looked at my current spouse and I said, maybe we waited too long. And he's like, you didn't want to leave. And I'm like, well, the fishing was fantastic. And he goes, well, now we're taking life into our own hands. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Again, this is why he's here.
Yeah.
Maybe correct your advice for people.
So for anybody listening, Lake Elwell is Tiber Dam. So
Yeah.
we're discussing the same place.
Yeah.
North of Great Falls, yeah.
If you see a storm coming in when you're on Lake Elwell, get off immediately.
Yeah.
The waves will reach over 5 feet.
Yeah,
And that-
it's not great.
Depending
It's not a
on
great
what type of
experience.
watercraft you're on, you're not. Maybe you're getting back to shore.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's been,
There's also been a bad situation with that within the last 2 years, too.
there has.
Yeah.
can I just say, you should not go out onto the wilderness or onto the water thinking, well, if things go bad, I can always call Deputy Livingston. But it is nice
Yeah.
to know
He's there.
there's an option. I mean, you're probably going to arrive a little bit later than I would like in a certain situation. However,
Yeah.
eventually somebody's going to show up.
Well,
Maybe.
You bring up a point there. So
A point, not a good
Yeah.
point.
a point. So a lot of people will hold off calling search and rescue or calling for
Oh.
help. So we have to remember that the primary mission of search and rescue is to help people get out of situations that they've found themselves in that they can't themselves get out of. So when they think of like, oh no, I can't get out of this situation, their second thought is, how big of a hit to my pocketbook is going to be a search and rescue event?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So search and rescue, at least in Cascade County, is a 501c3.
Okay.
So it's completely free.
Well, that's good to know,
Yes.
So don't think it's not like the ambulance ER visit bill where you're like, should I just drive myself? Like, is the
Right.
ambulance worth it?
Right.
Like, no, just call.
Yeah,
Like, if you're in that
just-
situation.
Just give us
Call.
a call.
Yeah.
We would much rather get out there and you self-recovered by the time we got there than you try to self-recover and the situation just gets worse.
Yeah.
So as soon as you realize that something has gone quite south,
Yeah.
that would be the time to maybe give us a call if you have cell service. There's other ways or methods, satellite phones. If
Pigeons.
you bought that, pigeons, that is not a method.
I was like, are you equipped to receive a carrier pigeon? With,
Yeah, we don't have any guards on the roof
Yeah.
waiting for those to come in.
Maybe something to consider.
But one of the good devices, one at least that I use, is a Garmin InReach. It has a built-in SOS button on it, and we do receive those. We have received those, and it works very well.
Does that then also pinpoint where they are so you don't have to then show up and go, well, gee, I wonder where they are now?
Yes. So, and because it's Garmin, you're going to have, I mean, every GPS system, at least on a civilian basis, is going to have some sort of a failure rate, and it's usually about 10 to 20 feet. So, I mean, really,
That's
only
not
being
bad.
10 to 20 feet off, it's
Yeah.
fine.
You're pretty close.
Yeah. So as soon as you send that SOS out, there is an international call center, essentially. They send you a message. With the InReach, you actually text through an app on your phone using the Garmin device. They double check, is everything okay? And then that's your opportunity to go, no, this has
That
gone
was on
horrible.
purpose,
Okay.
Things have gone awry.
Yeah.
Yes. So I can't stress that enough. We use more resources than just Cascade County Search and Rescue. We don't have a helicopter. So we utilize the Border Patrol that's stationed here in Great Falls. We use Malmstrom Air Force Base that is stationed here in Great Falls. And they are always more than happy to come out and help.
Well, it's got to put you at ease somewhat if you're traveling and you're thinking, I can easily float Belt Creek this time of year, and you can't, then someone is there to do that. How big is the search and rescue team?
Right now, we are sitting at about 18
Oh, wow.
individuals.
That seems like a lot.
That is. Yeah.
I can,
But good if you have to spread out and
Well, that's
Yeah.
true.
And these are all employed people, correct? Or is that including volunteers? Or
They
how
are
does that
all
work?
volunteers.
All volunteers,
Yep.
except you.
Well, so yeah.
But
So-
me too.
Yeah.
Within the state of Montana, so the reason why the sheriff's office involvement in search and rescue is by statute.
Okay.
So the statute's one of the 12 duties of the sheriff. They shall take charge of and supervise search and rescue when they're activated. So that's where the coordinator position comes into play with search and rescue.
Coordinator,
Yes.
That's
yes.
this guy.
I don't get to
Mhm.
do the fun stuff.
bringing people
being,
together.
like the hiking and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
actually physically saving people.
Yeah. Throwing them up over your shoulder and
Yeah.
hiking them out and go, I've got you, little lady. You're safe today.
You painted a very beautiful picture.
I can do that.
He's like, that was the image I was imagining when I signed up for this. Yeah.
If I could get a mural of that on my wall.
There you go.
I'll make that happen.
Have you had any of your volunteers do that? Hike out with a
No.
woman on their shoulder and said, I got you, little lady.
No.
That should
we're
be part
really
of your
big-
training.
We're really big fans of if you can walk out, we'll walk
Yeah.
out with you.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I had a dog who was not a fan of that at any moment in his life. He would often, like, half a block into our walk, he'd look at me like, you expect me to keep doing this? And I'm like, would you like a ride? And he's like, yeah. And so
That
I
was
get
your
the
first mistake, the first
scratch-
offer of a ride. Yes.
scratch at the leg, and there I am holding my dog. And we'd walk by people, and they're like, taking your dog for a walk? I'm like, yep.
It's like the people
just
that
hold
have
Were
like
you
their-
walking your dog or was your dog walking
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know what was going on. He didn't like
Wait,
me
was
so
this
much.
like? Didn't you have a lab?
Yeah, this was before the lab.
Okay.
We had a Pomeranian.
That's a large dog.
Come on, pretty lady, we're going out.
Well, he often did want to be held too, but I'm like, I can't walk with you as well.
That's when you get the like wagon that you pull by.
We had a Pomeranian before we had the
Okay,
lab, and
that makes more sense.
he did not like me, and so I
Oh.
was his.
Servant.
Yes, that's a better word than I was selecting in my brain
Yeah.
that I knew I couldn't say out loud.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh,
Similar
yes.
concept. Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of dogs,
Yeah. It's good. He's
Oh,
getting us
yes.
back on
This
track.
is
Yeah.
a good topic too
This is-
because
There's lots of
because when you swing by Walmart, get your raft, and go to Belt Creek, your dog's coming with you, right?
yep,
Obviously.
obviously,
Yeah.
and you probably haven't gotten him his life vest yet.
Correct. Yeah.
So they don't sell
Ours
those at
have life
Walmart.
vests.
Well, I guess a couple of points that I want to bring up on that.
Okay.
So first, we'll stick with the dogs.
Yes.
So a lot of people like to take their best friend with them,
Mm-hmm.
and they very much become concerned when their best friend goes overboard or when the whole raft, deflates because we
Claws.
bought a $20
Yeah.
raft.
Mm-hmm.
And their nails are
And
pointy.
they're mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe the dog deflated it.
Yeah.
This was a planned event by the dog.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to
this
go
is
swimming.
a bad idea.
So when our friend goes in, our friend being the dogs, when they go into the water, we should not be chasing after them.
Mm.
And it's one of those things. The best thing I can equate it to is if the house is on fire, right? We can't replace ourselves. And I'm not saying that
This
we
one's
can.
real hard for me
it's a
because I'm
tough
like
one.
I couldn't live with myself if I let my dog burn in the house
Right.
Did,
or drown. But I need to listen to this.
have you ever jumped in the water after them?
Thankfully, I haven't had to.
Oh, I've done that. Second
You
question,
have, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
While
Sorry, we.
Hindsight.
I
Not-
kind of want to hear about this.
Hindsight, not the best, obviously. And then second, quite a few years ago, the Judith River was raging in the Little
Mhm.
Belts. And my dog, the lab, of course, loves water, and
Yeah.
it's finally running. And he's like, oh, this looks great. And so he was walking along the banks. The banks deteriorated. He fell in. And this time, my current spouse was with me, and he's like calm, cool, and collected. And
This is
I start
opposite of
freaking
normal.
out, right? And I'm like, Robert, get in. And I was like going to push him into the water to go after the dog. And he just, Heisman trophies me, pushes me away on my forehead. And he's like, I've got this. He's a dog. He can get out. And so he just walks down all calm and nice. And the dog found a spot, could climb out and come back towards. And he's like, see? And I'm like, thank God. I almost pushed you into the water. And he goes, I saw. That's why we stopped you.
I think what I've learned most from this episode is that we should not go solo adventuring with you and Robert. We need to...
I don't know. Sometimes level heads prevail. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that actually that brings home my point.
yes.
Is dogs and they also don't want to drown.
Right.
So, and they're naturally very good swimmers. Some of them haven't swam before, but eventually they figure it out, right? But in the moving water, if you watch, and I'm going to kind of bring this back a little bit. If you watch a video of a dog falling into a pool, usually a human jumps in afterwards. Water's not moving.
Mm-hmm.
But what's happening to the human as they're even just trying to get their dog out of the water?
They're
getting
struggling and inhaling
scratched.
water.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're getting scratched, you're getting pushed underwater. Same thing if anybody listening is a lifeguard. When you were learning to be a lifeguard, when you try to save somebody that's drowning,
You need them to be calm.
you need to calm them down. Otherwise, they're going to drown you.
Yeah.
Right? So same thing happens with dogs. Now, when we add moving water into that aspect, then things start going south. And I bring this up because it was within the last year or two that we did have a boat capsize on Belt Creek. And
A real boat?
No, sorry.
Okay.
It wasn't a sailboat or a yacht. But in that, a dog went in, and one of the party members, both of the party members went in after the dog. Well, really, it was kind of a domino effect.
The
I'm
wife
sorry.
pushed the husband in.
Yes, wife pushed the husband in. No. But the first person went in to get the dog, then that person started to struggle. So then the next person went in to get that person, and somebody ended up losing their life in that incident, all because our dog went in. And the dog made it out just fine.
Yeah.
So in everything that I do in search and rescue, and I shouldn't say everything that I do, but majority of it is statistically based. And here we are. You and I have never met each other, Rebecca. However, you have a story of your dog getting out from moving water.
Yep.
And I have one story where the dog got out from moving water. That's 100% probability that our dog is going to get. I mean, 2 is not a scientific number.
Right.
However,
3. My dog got out twice because it happened at
we have a
Dearborn River as
scientific
well.
number
There you
now.
go.
3.
There it is. Yep.
That's what you needed.
I
was
mean,
3.
I stripped down to go in after him because I saw his eyes, and they were like, "Mom, come save me!" And yeah, things went not well. I was fine. So was the dog. 'Cause
Yeah.
by the time I was in the water, there he was on the shore looking at me going,
What are you doing?
"What are you doing?" I'm like, well,
What are you doing?
Yep.
so
Exactly.
I will say both of our dogs have life vests because we have a giant, not $20, like $120 movable sofa, we'll call it, round sofa that we float, not on Belt Creek, but on the Missouri.
Yep.
And we took our dogs on, we tested them. We blew it up in our driveway first and let them crawl around on it to see how, like, okay, are they going to lay down? Are they going to puncture it? Pass the test there, but still put life vests on them. My dog wanted to get out in, and this is the Missouri, right? Like, probably be fine. But we put life vests on both of them for the full time because one of them we didn't know what she would do. And it just made me feel better that would, even if in the Missouri, if they got out. But
So-
I'm like overly protective of them.
let me ask that question then.
Yeah.
Because dogs are natural swimmers.
Right. Does the
And
life vest matter?
we've got
yeah.
3 examples of a dog without a life vest.
On moving
Getting out.
stronger water. Yeah. Dog life vest.
Is the life vest for the dog more for the
Helpful?
human
Yeah.
to set their mind at ease,
Yeah, that's a
or
good- that's
an
a good
actual
question.
thing the dog needs?
So I would say for like,
Because I just see it as a handle to get them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An easier like reach and grab. Yeah.
yeah, no, I would say a life vest for the dog, probably best option.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I
There
thought
we
I thought I was going to get made fun of.
Well, no,
I was hoping. I was hoping you were, but
So I guess I'll give you an example
Yeah,
of that. So
okay.
if we go out to Holter and we're boating in the middle of Holter,
Mm-hmm.
somehow all of a sudden the boat immediately just sinks and now we're in the water.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even have a chance to get back to shore. We're gonna have a long ways to swim.
Yeah.
And just like humans, dogs will get tired as well.
Yeah.
So that will help
oh,
your
yeah.
friend keep their energy, stay above water. If we're talking about the Missouri, it does have some undertows to it.
Yeah.
So depending on how far down the dog, if they plop down into the water, the life vest will help prevent them from going too far down to catch that undertow. Because once you catch an undertow in the Missouri, you're not coming up for a while.
Yeah.
And usually you're hitting a rock or two in that process. So
I will say with Watson on Holter once, I was paddle boarding and I had Watson's 60, 70 pound dog, and he was on the front there, but the storm sort of was moved, clouds moved in. It was starting to kind of rain. The water was
be
getting
on the
choppy.
water.
Right. And so I was trying to paddle board and I was stood up and I was standing up and paddling, and Watson got nervous. So he's rocking it in the waves, and we both went under, and he went under and popped up, and then paddleboard left. And I'm trying to hold on to the dog, and we went around the corner from where everyone else was, and I'm trying to hold the paddleboard and calm Watson down, and because he was
harrowing experience.
Yeah, and so that's why I just am my dog I know gets nervous and freaked out anyway, so we're just gonna put the life vest on him because that was not a fun experience. And I'm what am I doing? I'm around the corner trying to hold my dog, trying to hold the paddleboard, no one else is here, no one can see me anymore. It's not good. So.
Yeah, you almost
we
got
were
the
all
services of search and rescue.
It was. We were close. We were very close to shore. It was just trying to I didn't know how much water he'd inhaled. I was Anyway, so that was not ideal.
No, but you made it out. So well done.
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
and
yes, we all lived. Yay! That was on my birthday too. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Good time. Good time.
And while we're talking about life vests, I can't stress them enough. We really stress to our kids to wear life vests, and I think as adults we get it in our heads that we don't look cool when we wear a life vest.
Yeah.
There are very uncomfortable life vests if we're talking about the ones made in the 1990s, the conventional.
Keyhole.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, vest technology has just gotten so much better. They're slimmer. They're far more comfortable. They still don't breathe.
Yeah. Oh, they're very warm.
Yes. But I can't stress wearing them enough. We wear them. It's part of our policy to wear them. And we get paged out as a river rescue, but majority of the time, unfortunately, it's a river recovery. So I guess that's why I'm here saying, if you're on the river, wear a vest. If you're wearing waders, please, please, please wear a wader belt.
To stop the water from getting into your pants.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
as if we're
makes
wearing
you an
waders.
anchor.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's no getting out of it, and that amount of water, you're not swimming your way out of that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can we also just add, if you're recreating on the water, let's leave the beer on the banks. Because
it's he's probably going to have more to say than that, but yeah.
I'm just going to say, let's leave the beer on the banks.
Yeah.
And you can have it when you get back from the water, because that just impairs people's judgments and ability to operate safely and react correctly. So there we go.
Well, I think you'll find it interesting to know that you can get a DUI for operating a watercraft under the influence of alcohol or any other drug.
Watercraft. Yeah, we should clarify that.
Watercraft is probably anything on the water
in this way. Is my pink flamingo floaty thing considered a watercraft?
You should not be drunk. I'm just kidding.
Because that's also part of the stop at Walmart for a lot of people on their way out of town, right? Is getting your $20 raft and your snacks and your beverages.
Yeah, it's not a good plan. Now, I've known people, not me, but I have known people who will consume a lot of that kind of beverage on the water, and that impairs their ability to operate their watercraft.
Well, and then when you get out at the end, you don't necessarily realize it on the water, and then you get out at the end and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, some people try to high mark their boat alongside the banks of the water, and that's not a good idea either.
Yeah.
And you're fixing your boat.
Yeah, and you're dehydrated.
Yeah. Because you can't drink the water in the river.
No.
That's gross.
Yeah, so I guess for clarification,
he's being really official now.
Yeah,
Everyone can
sorry.
see this. He has his official
I don't
computer.
I think we should probably get this one out there. So
Okay.
a person may not operate a motorboat or manipulate water skis, a surfboard, or a similar device attached to a motorboat while under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or a combination of the two.
Mm.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
No.
No.
Speaking of hydration, am I allowed to stop and pee anywhere when I have to pee from drinking all the water to stay hydrated while I'm floating on my raft down the river?
You can pee in the water.
Yeah, people do that too.
Yeah.
Just making sure it's
That's where nature is.
supposed to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any peeing advice?
I don't have any peeing advice.
That's not under the auspice of search and
But,
rescue, for goodness sakes.
Oh, just saying.
I know there's plenty of people that jump in and pee in the river like it's a pool, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Watch for snakes when you get out and look for a place to pee.
As long as it's not private land.
See? Yeah.
So is search and rescue called in for fires, like wildland fires?
That's a great
Or
question.
only like if people are inside the wildland fire?
That's a good question.
So they are also able to assist with evacuations.
Okay.
So like notifying campers, stuff like that. When the Little Belts were on fire, I think it was 4 years ago now, we did activate search and rescue to come out and help with notifications and possible evacuations. However, fire had not actually reached our county, and the neighboring county did not want that assistance. So
Oh.
Okay. Well, that's
Now,
their choice.
this is going to be awful because it's going to sound like my husband's not smart, but he is super
Well,
smart.
We have had stories
Yes.
earlier on this podcast.
But he is often called to help with wildland fires.
Okay.
To help establish boundary lines
Mhm.
when they are within Cascade County.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not necessarily wildland fires. They're like a big grass fire. He'll be out there with a piece of equipment. So talk to me about your partners, because I'm not sure why my husband gets to do some of that stuff, but he is part of the county ecosystem as a county road employee
mhm.
with the equipment operator. So as the coordinator, who are you calling in to help with things?
Yeah, really, search and rescue is kind of an interesting thing, much like any other major incident. It's really heavy on resources on the front end, and then as it continues, it gets kind of lighter on resources because you're letting people rest, you're bringing in new resources, stuff like that. We use, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of helicopter activity, resources. A lot of manpower. We did have a search and rescue event 2 weeks ago. I won't go too in depth on that one. However, I will say the community was fantastic. It was quite literally an overwhelming amount of people looking for work to do just from a community aspect. All the neighbors showed up. Hey, what can I do? I have no idea yet because we just got here.
Hang out here.
So, but yeah, so anybody that shows up, if they have equipment and if the terrain isn't too dangerous, because what it all ultimately comes down to is I'm responsible for everybody that I send out. So I might have a bunch of people from the community show up, but if the terrain's too dangerous for their, and I don't know them, or if I don't know them, I don't know what their capabilities are.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes it kind of difficult when a lot of people show up. But with flat terrain, no waterways, stuff like that, it is a lot easier to incorporate, neighbors, community members that I don't really know into a search event. However, it does require that they come in to the incident command, they check in, I get their contact information. We use a very specialized mapping system. I get them set up on that, and then I assign them a task and then send them on their way.
Mm.
Yep.
Do you put like a tile on their back so you know where they are at all times?
I put a really, really big flag that they're required to carry
That
around.
makes sense.
Should just
Yeah.
drop air tags in all their pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So actually, the mapping software that we use is really cool. So I just have them scan a QR code. Well, first I have them download the app, have them scan the QR code. That automatically attaches them to the map that I've built out. And then within the app, they're able to hit live track and from my computer, I can see where they are in real time.
Wow. That is
Yep.
really cool.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. Has technology, I imagine, has changed a lot in how you're able to do things. Are there some things though that still like these are the basics? I mean, because there's a lot of places where we don't have cell service, we don't have, all these things like the back to the basics of what search and rescue's been for 100 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we use, I guess, as far as technology goes, obviously radios, GPSs are fantastic tools. Our cell phones have become far more common than really any other device. And then we use, as far as like statistical data goes, so when we do a search, a gentleman quite a few years ago now recognized that when you're doing an activity, so whether you're doing a wheel activity, a water-based activity, hunting or hiking, if you end up lost or hurt for some reason, depending on the activity that you were doing, you do the same thing more often than not. So if I'm hiking, I'm going to end up, I want to give this guy credit real quick. His name is Robert Coaster. Sorry, Robert, if you're listening to this.
Not my Robert.
Yeah, not your Robert.
Some other Robert.
Yes.
Very, very smart guy. So if you're hiking, you're going to end up staying to trails more often than not. Whereas if you're hunting, you end up start hiking uphill to try and get cell reception when you're in trouble. So he recognized that, started collecting nationwide all of this data. And so now we're able to have statistical probabilities of where we're going to find people. I have a hard copy of that book as well. So I carry it on my phone because it's easier to work my way through the categories. However, dead phone, no cell reception, that's out the window. So a hard copy. So Cascade County being what it is, there are a lot of areas that we don't have cell reception, like zero cell reception. So yeah, we do end up going back to maps and compasses or can in some places. It's pretty rare these days as far as cell reception goes, but yeah.
And there's actually somewhat talking about the statistics and the formulas, and I'm remembering you talking about this some in the Citizen Academy class that you led, but some of the how you figure out probabilities of, for example, when you're searching for someone, where you figure out, okay, where do we start? Where do we start our search if we don't know which direction this guy goes? Can you talk a little bit about that, of like how you figure out what area you're going to try searching in first?
Yeah, absolutely. So typically when we'll go out, we'll try and figure out, I'm going to use it right now. So we're going to do child, we're going to do age 13 to 15.
Okay.
So within here, there's always a tactical debrief. So right now, it's advising me that a youth between the age of 13 and 15, they have abstract and deductive reasoning at this point.
Okay.
However, they have lack of experience. If part of a lost group, they will most likely remain together, so they won't split up typically.
Like that age group is more prone to stay together?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they haven't seen all those horror movies yet.
It also goes to indicate that they are poor swimmers, likely to enter water due to peer pressure. So if we're doing a water type deal, it really wasn't their choice to go in. However, we were all 13 to 15 at one point, and we all had that one friend that if they said jump in that water, you're like, all right,
Yep,
you got me. So, and then also when lost, use trail following, direction sampling, and then what else do we have here? Be sure to look at traits also based upon activity. So that's just advising me to go look at the stats related to the activity type that they were doing. Now, when search and rescue gets activated, it can take about 2 hours.
Okay.
We have to remember that all of our search and rescue folks are volunteers. So I will be responding immediately to scene. Typically, the first step for me is verifying that a vehicle is at said location. So more specific to an overdue hunter or hiker, and don't let me forget, we'll get into what you should say or do
Yes.
before you
I was going to
take
ask you
off.
about that. Perfect.
So I'll go verify that their vehicle is there. So now we have an area to search. A lot of times we'll run into issues. John hasn't made it home yet. I don't know where he is. He's either in the Dearborn or he's in the Little Belts.
Yeah, that's a
Minor.
yeah.
Yeah.
Minor distance between the two.
Yeah, massive areas.
So that makes it really difficult for
Mhm.
us to search. There's nothing to search
Mhm.
there. We can possibly go check a couple of parking spots, but if we were going to just check all the parking spots in the Dearborn alone,
Yeah.
we would be spending an extravagant amount of time
Mm-hmm.
before we discovered that his vehicle wasn't there.
I feel like sometimes people think search and rescue or just law enforcement in general has some type of like divine intervention of like, oh, they went missing in the Dearborn, this area. I'm
Yes.
going here. But no, you're working with the information you have
Yep.
and statistics, but you need more information than
We need a search
this-
area
yeah.
first and foremost.
Mhm.
As I always tell my husband when he goes out, when you decide where you're going to go, just text me the location so I know where to start searching for the body.
Yeah.
Because you don't get
Right.
that payout from life insurance until there's a body. He's like, gotcha.
Yeah. Wear Hunter's orange. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Keep your flag high.
So once search and rescue gets out there, that's when everybody gets tasked out. So typically the search and rescue commander has a lot of strengths. So he's supposed
Are
to
you
be
talking about yourself?
no.
Okay.
No.
You said
That would
commander.
be
I was
very
like, is that
third
you?
party. But when he shows up, he's part of incident command. However, he has a lot of strengths. He has a lot of certificates.
Mm.
So it's really easy for me to want to send him
Out.
down the road.
Yeah.
And he's more than willing to.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have to be able to. We still have radio communication because he is still part of an incident command.
Mm-hmm.
We do initially what's called hasty searches. So we search what is the higher probability areas. So if we have a 13 to 15-year-old and they are more trail prone, we're going to do trail searches as a hasty search.
Hmm.
So what that is we're basically moving as quick as we can down the trail. We're hollering, we're blowing whistles, anything to try and garner someone's attention. And then we're looking for signs, so clothing, jackets, stuff like that, shoes, and then we're cutting for signs. So depending on how populated the trail is at that time, sign cutting can be useful. If it's very popular or populated at the time, sign cutting. So sign cutting meaning
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep,
I was
sorry.
like, what's sign
Sign-
cutting?
sign cutting meaning footwear impressions.
Oh.
I was thinking literal like something with
I
a
thought,
trail
I thought
sign.
like
I was
we're
like,
cutting things down. Like we've
Yeah.
covered this area.
yeah.
So any sign of somebody moving through that area,
Mhm.
I guess, would be the best way to describe sign
Okay.
cutting. Once that is done, so I'll give you this example. We have a 50% probability of finding them within 0.8 miles of their last known place
Okay.
or location. And that's in a temperate, flat climate. In a mountainous area, for some reason, it's more. 50%.
See, I would think it would be less in mountainous area
Yeah.
because it's harder to move.
Oh, I think you get panicked and just end up sprinting in
Yeah.
directions because you're like, oh,
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
do that.
I can't even
Don't
find.
do that.
Don't do that.
You don't have to worry
Once
about
you
me
realize-
sprinting ever. Even to my car, if there's candy in the trunk, I'm not sprinting. I don't want to.
So you take that into account.
Yeah.
Are they prone to sprinting? Yes or no? Yeah.
Yeah, so everybody is, right? We actually we teach a course to youth ages. Well, I'll give you grades, 1st through 7th grade.
Okay.
It's called Hug a Tree. It originated
Oh.
out of California.
Oddly.
But one of the first things, it's like, don't panic,
Yeah.
don't run, because when you panic and you run,
Rebecca's got that one down.
you can get hurt.
Or if your husband is prone to running, he'll push you to the ground if he hears a little rustle in the
Spoken
woods in
from
the dark.
experience.
And then he will be the first one to the pickup.
That's the rule when you encounter a
Yeah.
bear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
I'm just
always
kidding.
run
Don't-
faster. Always run faster than the person
Yeah,
next
yeah,
to you.
that
And
one,
if they,
that one.
if they have the ability to run faster, push them to the ground.
Right. That's how you
Just
get
kidding.
it.
Don't
When
listen
I
to me on
got
that
to
one.
the pickup, I'm like, you pushed me to the ground. He's like, did you hear the boogeyman? I'm like, I heard a bird rustling in the grass. And he's like, I wasn't taking
Oh my
any
God.
chances.
It's
And
actually
I'm
just a
so
chipmunk.
Yeah.
you left me for dead. He's like, better you than me.
So
And
he is not going to be the hero that throws you. Come on, little lady.
nope, he is not. He will be the one that pushes you to the ground and runs away from a fire at a
He's not a
child's
search
birthday
and rescue
party.
volunteer, is he?
No.
Yeah. Good.
There was a really long pause on
Yeah.
that. I was waiting.
Yeah. No, he's
Surprise, you
not.
actually know him. It's like- oh,
He's
dear.
one of your best volunteers.
Go through some training again.
But initially, our initial response is a smaller, more focused search area.
Okay.
As it progresses, hour by hour, day by day, that's when our search area starts to get bigger.
That makes sense.
Is there a rule of thumb? This is probably the worst question I can ask, but is there a rule of thumb, like after so much time, you're just best of luck? We're not going to find you. You're-
Very grim.
It's like, okay, I'm lost in the mountains and I've done my GPS thing and then hopefully someone finds me. But if I've been out there for 48 hours, I might as well just start saying all my thanks to God and settle down for a long winter sleep because chances aren't good that you're coming for me.
Well, so I guess we'll cover this first, and then we'll get to that. So, when you're planning on going out, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what the outdoor activity is. Let somebody know.
Mm-hmm.
Let them know where you're going, what your plan is, where you're going. It would also help if you told them, like, yeah, I am going to bring that weed and alcohol. Like,
Yeah.
that would give us an idea of,
State
you know,
of mind.
State of mind.
Yeah.
mind
Mhm.
or even
Cognition.
cognition, but what medical responses
Mm.
or issues we might be having.
Mm.
Alcohol always, especially in the sluice boxes, leads to dehydration.
Mm-hmm.
So let them know that you're going to bring your joints and whiskey and what your plan is when you're out there and how long you plan on being there. So if you're hiking, let them know where you're going to park your vehicle. Let them know what trail you plan on hiking, how far back you plan on hiking. Do you plan on taking any spurs off of that trail? How long you plan on camping and when you're expected to be back.
Mm-hmm.
When we don't have those things, it makes it very difficult for us to find somebody. And if we don't have an expected time back, then we might go 2-3 days between when you were planning on being back in the time that somebody goes, you know what, I should probably call.
Oh, they haven't been around for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonder
So-
if they made it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not mom and dad keeping tabs on you as much as it is you just protecting yourself.
You're helping yourself if
Yes.
something happens.
Yep.
So then here's my question on that. Let's say you're a solo traveler and you've come here to experience the wilds of Montana as
Which
a
we get those.
young
Mhm.
little lady, and you're
Mhm.
going to hike into the Little Belts is a fine example, but let's be more realistic. The Bob Marshall Wilderness Complex, and you're going to do the thing. Who do you notify?
Mm.
Like, do you tell the front desk clerk? Do you stop in at the visitor information center and like, hey, I'm doing this solo trek. If something happens,
We're bringing ourselves into this equation, I guess. Yeah.
or
It's a
is
good
it
question, though,
a
if
family
you're
member,
traveling on your
even
own.
if it's not in, like, if they're in Montana and their family members in Pennsylvania, is it still a family member that you're telling?
Yes.
'Kay.
So it doesn't have to be
Not
somebody
random?
local.
Okay.
Mhm.
You want to pick somebody that you trust. Because if you just tell the hotel clerk,
You're right.
then the
They're
hotel
gonna
clerk
get off shift
might,
and totally forget about you.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like, All right, John. Good luck.
Have fun.
Yeah, no, you can absolutely tell somebody that lives in Sweden, hey, I'm going to be in Montana. If you don't hear back from me by this time, can you please call the local sheriff's office? We'll take that call from anywhere around the world, as long as it's somebody within our county that is missing. So that's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
I have them every now and again.
Yeah.
He seems real excited.
Came
up with a good question.
Now, to come back to the giving up and staying in one spot thing that we're talking about. So as long as you meet the criteria before you actually head out of notifying somebody your timeline, what your plans and intentions are, if the bad thing happens, search and rescue should be on their way. Now, hopefully the bad thing doesn't happen day one of a 5-day journey, because now we're going to be, 5 days inherently behind. But usually about the day that you're supposed to be back. So if you're supposed to be back on Friday, usually the knowing party calls us about 1 a.m. on Saturday. It's
like a 4 to 6 hour kind of window.
And that happens because they don't want to either A, take a hit to their pocketbook. That doesn't happen. Or they don't want to cause a bunch of concern when John is going to be just fine. So it's usually about 1 to 3 a.m. is when we get that phone call of like, hey, they were floating the river. I shouldn't drop stuff on this table. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You're good.
But so-and-so was floating the river and they were supposed to be back at 6 p.m. last night. Oh, okay. So as far as
the bar's closed and I ended up at home and they weren't here. So
so as long as that criteria is met, the biggest recommendation is, if you can, stay put. Because if we know what your plan is, what trails you're hiking, as long as you stay put, we have a better chance of finding you quicker. Whereas if you try to go get that cell reception, yeah, sure, it's part of my statistical analysis. But think of, if you're doing a 20-mile hike, that's 20 miles of uphill that we have to account for. Because the bad thing could have happened at any point along that trail. So stay put. If you're hiking or if you're hunting, just find an area next to a clearing. Believe it or not, this is the same thing that I teach first graders all the way up to 7th graders. Find a big tree, hug it, right? Don't find the tallest tree, because we know what lightning does to tall things.
Oh, yeah.
But find a tall tree, not the tallest tree, and hang out next to it. Hopefully you find one next to a clearing, because we do have helicopters get involved. If you see a helicopter, you can step out into the big space, make yourself big. That one's kind of fun. Kids really love it. Adults should love it too, because it's laying on the ground and literally making snow angels.
Okay. That does sound fun. Yeah.
That's a better way.
We could practice that after our podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. It's raining too.
Yeah.
So
even better.
Rain angels.
Rain angels. Yeah. Perfect. Mud angels. Yeah.
What are the other tips? So staying in place, hugging a tree. Really great tip on laying down and making a snow angel, because how many movies have you seen just standing and you're waving your arms, but you're still just thin.
Taut.
Yeah. Instead of
from above.
Yeah. If you're in a helicopter and you're looking down at somebody, they're like a pinpoint. Whereas if they
that's
lay
a good
down,
point. I wouldn't have thought to do that, but that makes sense.
You can always make an SOS or a really big X with sticks, rocks, stuff like that. The best thing that I can equate it to, sorry, I know I'm speaking to an audience of adults, but school bus. Make it as big as a school bus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty big.
That is big.
Yeah.
That's a good reference point, though.
Right.
Like in your head to think like, oh, it just needs to be bigger.
You think you're gonna make it big, but then sometimes you're like, oh, how big does this need to be?
Right.
Right. How big is big?
I need to cut down 500 trees to make this big enough for people to see. Nope. Not that many.
Not that many. Don't need deforestation happening. What if you're with somebody who's gotten injured?
Do you leave them behind?
You know, it's one of those things where it's kind of dealer's choice. My recommendation would be stay where you are. We want to be able to monitor somebody that's injured. We don't want to leave them and they quickly or rapidly decline. Let's say a broken femur. Okay. Right now it's just a broken leg. Okay, that's what we're working with. However, while you're gone, they decide to adjust the way that they're sitting. Something that people may or may not know with femur fractures is your femoral runs right on the inside of that leg. So the more we move that broken femur around, the more our odds are of actually tearing or cutting open our femoral artery.
That does not sound good.
No. So we want to kind of be with them to make sure things like that don't happen, because they might have been fine when we left. However, they might not be fine by the time we get back. It's kind of like jumping into the river for somebody that's, jumped in after a dog.
Yeah. That's hard. My brain goes to worst case scenario to try to prepare. So I'm like, okay, it's two of us and we're hiking and we're day 1 of day 5 and we have no service and someone's injured. Do I wait here till 7 days passes and someone looks? So
one thing that should always be taken into account is experience. Experienced people will always do what experienced people do. Okay? However, inexperienced people will always try to do what experienced people do. I think that's the best way I can articulate that.
Okay.
Really, it comes down to having good equipment for the area that you're going to be. I'm a huge advocate of, I do a lot of outdoor activity, like I said at the start of the podcast. I got to the point where I realized I was doing enough of it by myself. I should have a way to communicate to the outside world in case a bad thing happened.
Yeah.
So that's why I got myself a device where I could do that. That would be my advice to everyone. If you plan, even if it's just 2 of you, if you're going to be somewhere out of cell service, or even in an area where you're roaming and you don't want to spend the money on the roaming minutes, get a device that will assist you.
Yeah.
If
When you can't assist yourself.
Right. Yep. And that might be what makes a difference.
Are those things, the devices you're talking about, can you buy those at stores locally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much any outdoor good store.
Great. So people can
we'll have
stop and grab one
Shields,
on their way out.
North 40, Bighorn Outdoor Specialists, all the options there for you to find
Grab it
something
before you head
and
out.
keep it.
Yeah.
And then take a little tutorial with the people that sell it to you. Like, hey, I'm going to use this, maybe.
I'm so glad you said that. Yes. Don't just buy equipment and then go
just,
out. Learn
Open
how to
it,
use the
check it.
equipment.
Yeah.
Maybe gander over the owner's manual, the operator's manual.
Don't
Understand
try
the
to be
device.
learning that in the middle.
And some of them require subscriptions. So you got to make sure you have that subscription so that it can be used. Because you might buy, for example, Garmin InReach and go, all right, sweet, I got an SOS button, go out and realize, oh no, it doesn't work because I wasn't paying the subscription. So
that'd be
is
unfortunate.
there any magical thing with just the basic cell phone when you're out in the wilderness, or some water's a good example too, because it doesn't really work in water, that even if it's no service, but you still have battery, that you can do something with your phone to alert someone? Because you're not going to be able to call like 911 or whatever number they call to get you.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bat signal.
No.
Okay.
I mean, in some places, you don't need cell reception for 911. I have found in Cascade County, you definitely need cell reception to call 911.
Yeah.
We do have people, we had snowmobilers actually in the Little Belts this last year, and one of their phones somehow magically got cell reception in an area that they should not have gotten cell reception in. And it was just enough for them to get a phone call out. So we were actually notified by Marr County, our neighbors to the south, of stuck snowmobilers. And then we got confirmation from Garmin because they actually had a Garmin InReach and utilized it.
Good for them.
Yes. Yep. So also with our mapping software, I'm able to send text messages to people and in there is a link. By clicking the link, they're authorizing me, the local government, to track their location. So as long as they have cell reception, that is a tool that I am able to use. What I will say is, of all of my attempts, which have been plentiful, I have yet to have somebody that was still in cell reception. So great tool. However, I haven't been able to use it. I'm going to be so excited the first time
that
somebody
happens,
is able to click that link and I get access to their location.
Yeah, no kidding.
Then we'll know exactly where they are.
You talked about volunteers having that system where they could scan and then you could track them. Do volunteers sometimes forget to stop the tracking? Like you just get to track them forever? Or is there a point when you stop tracking the volunteers? Same with the people if you ever get them to click the link. Are they just always going to be
if
tracked?
Logan just sits at home and watches where the volunteers?
I think it would be fun. I think that would be a blast.
What's Doug up to today?
Like, hey, he never shut his thing off. Where's he going?
I can show you quite a few maps where we watch somebody leave the search site and then drive all the way back into town and go home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it does happen. Yeah.
My favorite is because phones are pretty powerful.
Yeah.
My husband will take a picture at work and he won't send it to me. But when he gets home, he's like, oh, I got this great picture today. And I said, oh, yeah, of XYZ. And he's like, how are you doing this? I don't like that you can see what I'm doing. And he has no idea that my account is connected to his account. And so that when he takes a photo, it backs up to my Google Photos as well. And so I can see the photos he's taking.
Yeah.
But he thinks it's some type of magic. It's not. But then also I get the Google Maps notification of all the places you've been. I'm like, what? So like at the end of the month, I go, what were you doing at this location? How did you know I was there? And I'm like, that's not the question. The question is, why were you there? How do you know I was there? And I'm like, honey, you've got a phone.
Yeah.
Well, and that is one thing that can happen, right? There's apps such as Life 360. Apple has a built-in location.
We
and
use
you can
that
share
like when my husband
location.
goes hunting, like he'll have that on so I can, and he'll tell me, we're going in this general area. We should be back between then, and he'll check in when he can. But if he doesn't or whatever, I'll throughout the day just occasionally pull it up and see if it's like they're moving where they said they would, not because I'm trying to be a protective wife, but just like, okay,
do it just for fun.
Are you where you were planning to go? So little tools like that.
I do. I joked one time with a friend. You travel back and forth. You want to make sure that they get home, especially if they leave late at night.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll send a message like, hey, did you get home? And then if they don't respond in 2 seconds, I'm like, I'm calling the sheriff's department. I'm going to. And then they're like, stop. Yeah. I'm fine. I'm home. I'm like, oh, thank God. We were close.
So respond quickly to you is what you're saying.
I've got like 3 second window before I'll fly off the handle. And so now they do that to me and I'm like, no, I'm good. So it's always that fear that now I'm going to call search and rescue every time they don't.
I mean, that's good though. That makes them respond, right?
Yeah. Well, and Apple's great because it gives you the option. If you're the one carrying the phone being tracked, it usually something pops up of, hey, you're out of cell service. Would you like to use GPS to share your location?
Yeah, I know there is kind of like a satellite SOS option now with some Apple products too, where you can circumvent
I have no
that.
idea how that works. I haven't made it that far into the future
but
yet.
I think that's something newer that's starting to be available.
How many calls per year do you get?
That's a fantastic question.
Is it one you can answer?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't have a good average for you because it changes so much year to year. I think it was about 4 years ago we were in the 30s for search and rescue call outs. Last year I think we had 2.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah.
Hey,
people are getting smarter.
Yep. So far this year we've had 3.
Okay.
Maybe a 4th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just since January.
Yep.
Okay.
And are these things more likely to happen on a weekend versus a weekday?
When the weather gets the way it is right now, well, I guess not
Maybe
this
not today,
moment because it's raining. However, when it gets warm like this, that's usually when we get one. People go out, especially when school gets out. That's when we get a lot of our youth going out by themselves, and somehow a bottle of vodka magically makes it into their pack, and then
Silly
they
kids.
decide to drink all of that and no
Yeah.
water.
Smart.
Yeah. So around this time of year is when we have a brief uptick in then hunting season,
Mm.
and then when winter hits again, usually we'll
Kind
have
of those changes when people forget how to do things.
forget how to do things, and then we'll have new people trying out motorsports that they've never done before. So like motorcycling, snowmobiling specifically. We are lucky in this area. We don't have any severe avalanche concerns. Doesn't mean that they don't exist.
Yeah.
However, the angles of most of our mountain ranges here aren't so steep that we're dealing with that often.
Yeah.
However, the snow does get quite deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you get stuck in it.
Yeah.
You think, oh, it's going to be easy to get out. And no.
No.
I jumped into a snowbank one time in Italy and straight down. and then I couldn't get out of it. And I'm like, I'm stuck in this snowbank.
When did you go to Italy?
That's nobody's real concern. It's just
That's the first
there
I
was
heard
some
of it.
kids.
It's mine now.
Yeah. So the kids I was with came up. They're like, we'll help take you out. And I'm like, thank God. Like,
Were you a kid at the time?
no,
Oh,
I was an
okay.
adult.
Okay. Yeah.
Most of the stupid stuff I have
Yeah,
done
you
is
get
been as
into.
an adult.
We were watching. Jason and I were watching a show last night where somebody fell through. They were on a frozen lake and fell through, and somebody was trying to dig them out, and the lady wanted to get up and like sprint, and I was like, "Nope, you army crawl. You crawl across that." They ended up like rolling across the ice, but I mean that's like
Yeah.
if you fall through frozen water.
Ooh.
Try to. I mean, not good, but
Yeah.
if you get out, you don't want the ice to crack.
I'll come there with an axe and just start pounding it.
That doesn't seem.
We-
right.
You're going to need to duck.
Actually, that brings up ice fishermen.
Yeah.
You know, we do have some really good ice fishing around here. There is really good ice fishing up on Tiber Reservoir,
Yep.
Lake Elwell. The issue up there is there are gas pockets that build up under the ice.
Oh.
So I don't know if you know this, however, that used to be just a valley,
Okay.
and they backfilled it with water. That's what created Lake Elwell. And I think part of the issue is decomposing things.
Yeah.
A lot of science stuff that I don't want to try and speak to because I don't know it. However, there's gas pockets that build up under the
Okay.
ice. So there's a lot of weak points on
Mm.
Lake Elwell.
Yeah.
You ice fish, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My husband created a very safe barrel system that's on his four-wheeler now because he didn't listen to me when I said he was going to go ice fishing at like Hell Creek,
Uh-huh.
which is a bay of the Missouri River.
Okay.
And he doesn't always remember that it is a river underneath the water.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, I'm just going to the lake. I'm like, nope, that lake is formed by a river. And that means there's a river still flowing underneath it. So be careful of your time on the river. And he goes, yes, dear. Well, one year things went quickly awry in his four-wheeler. Tipped into the water, and thanks to
gosh.
some quick thinking friends, they got him out of the water, and it did scare him enough to go, that's probably not a good plan. I'm like, no, it's not a great plan to go ice fishing on the river because of the river that keeps flowing
It's kind
underneath.
of amazing he hasn't hurt himself more.
Honestly, I mean, but he's very well trained in being a search and rescue volunteer.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I'm
Yeah.
joking. He's not. But he went and got some barrels that he now straps to his four-wheeler when he goes ice fishing so that when he falls in, he'll just float.
You
He
know,
He looks silly, but it works.
whatever
we went and
floats his
tested it.
boat.
Or his four-wheeler.
Yeah.
So he's got a very nice barrel system that turns him into a pontoon.
Okay.
So we're always good.
Well, good.
We may not seem like we're super smart, but we are super
No,
safe.
he's adapted. Yeah. One final thing, and then we can get you out of here so you can get back to your real job. With animals, how much do animals do you interact? Do you see animals a lot when you're doing search and rescue? Do you have a lot of like somebody was
Eaten by a bear.
tried to get eaten by a bear or swatted by a mountain lion or bit
Fed a
by a
squirrel.
snake? Or
I hope somebody didn't try to get bitten by a bear.
Well, let's hope not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
Honestly, since I've joined, we haven't had any of those issues.
Oh,
We do
knock on
we do have bears in the area.
Mhm.
Grizzly and brown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
See?
And mountain lions.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, and the mountain lions, you'll never know that they were there.
I know. I've said
Yep.
this before. I'm sure I've been watched by a mountain
Stalked.
lion. I've never seen one, but I'm sure I've been seen by one.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. I was out elk hunting and came like right where I decided to sit down and kind of hang out.
Yeah.
Looked to my right, and there were these huge cat tracks to my right. And I looked at my buddy and said, "It's probably time for us to go."
Yeah.
They were quite
We're
fresh.
in their territory.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so we haven't had any of those issues
Okay.
really. I think it's kind of important for people to remember, even hunters have a hard time finding game when they're hunting.
Yeah.
You know,
My husband
so-
likes to say he takes his rifle for a walk.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
No, it's that bad. Yeah, and nothing against him.
No,
It
no,
is
he'll
literally
say
just
that,
that bad. Like animals do not like us.
Mhm.
They're scared of us.
As they should be. Yeah.
It doesn't mean that incidents don't happen.
Mhm.
But the likelihood is much lower.
Mhm.
Really, what I tell people: yell at them,
Mhm.
make yourself big.
Can I do that to the rattlesnake? Can I help the rattlesnake?
I'll probably not.
Yeah,
that
it might not work
He's
for
not gonna
them.
care.
Yeah.
You
Although-
start hearing a rattle, start slow. Like, don't move. That will be, I guess, the best advice. If you hear a rattle, do not move.
Just stand there.
Try and identify where it's coming from.
Okay.
That way, you don't jump onto it. Like that's what you don't want to do. Is
Yeah.
like you hear it, get spooked, and then all of a sudden move onto it because
Yeah.
you didn't know where it was. You want to try and identify where it is so
Yeah.
that you can actually get away from it.
The statute of limitations is not passed on this because it happened on Saturday.
Well, then
but
let's
I'm going to
just
share.
not go there.
I'm going to share it anyway. I was up in an area that is like a wildland preserve.
Okay.
And there was some antelope near the water, and there wasn't a lot of water in this area. And we drove near it, and they started to run away. And I just yelled at them. I'm like, "Hey, come back! We're not shooting at you. We're shooting at gophers." And they stopped and came back towards me. And I'm like, "Huh, that's gotta
They
be a
understood
first."
English. Wow. They listened to you.
And then they saw my 22 out the window, and they're like, "But that's a gun, and we know guns are bad." And then they just stood there a little bit, and they're like, "I don't think we're gonna come any closer." I'm like, "We'll leave. You can come back to your water." And so we left, and they did. So
You just had like a real like Dr. Doolittle moment with
yeah, it was
those
really an
antelope.
odd. Like everybody in the pickup's like, they literally stopped. I'm like, because I did. I'm like, "Hey, stop!" And they stopped, and they turned around and looked at me. I'm like, "Come on back. We're not here to hurt you." And they're like, "Okay." And then they walked towards me, and they're like, "Oh, that's a gun." And I'm like,
She's
"But
trying to
no,
trick
but for
us.
gophers, it's not for you." So
Wow.
maybe that
You have
method
a newfound gift.
it didn't work the second time, but it did work the first.
Did you understand them by chance?
Well,
No.
I have been studying antelope and deer behavior because I've got a urban deer issue in my house.
Okay.
In your
okay.
house?
Yes.
In the
Physically
house.
inside the
Yeah.
house. Yeah.
Yes, they're up on my deck eating my flowers,
Uh-huh.
knocking on the door like, "Hey, can we come in?" But the antelope were a lot nicer than the deer because they listened and they're like, "Okay." The deer look at me like, "You want to take me on? I will
Yeah.
take you to town and show you who's the king of this world." And I'm like, "Just get out of my yard."
Jason had an interaction like that with a deer that was eating plants that were supposed to be deer proof that
Yeah.
he planted, and he was yelling, and the deer just like stared at him.
Yep.
He had to like run like "Wah!" until the deer moved.
I go out there with a gun sound. I'm like pushing it
On
on my
your-
phone, like maybe they'd get scared of it, and they didn't.
No,
They
it
just
sounds
stepped.
nothing like the real thing.
They stepped towards me like, "You want to take us on?" I'm like, "I'm going to eventually figure out how to get you out of my yard." But the antelope were great. So I
Wow,
would say,
you're an
yeah, I'm
antelope
becoming a little bit of an
whisperer.
expert because I've been studying their behaviors for
Yeah.
a while.
Okay.
But so maybe
bring you along if antelope are around.
yeah.
Yeah.
But don't approach the antelope.
no,
Yeah.
I didn't. Well, I did in a vehicle, and they ran
Yeah,
away.
that's different.
I brought
That's
them
different.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the
Hey,
water.
I don't think I can stress enough. Like, don't approach any wild animals.
He's like, I need to make sure that people understand that.
And now you know why I end up on a list at the police department.
Like, deer,
Like, I understand
moose,
this now. Yeah.
elk, bears, bison.
Yeah.
Let's not approach them.
Nope.
Let's keep our distance.
That's a plan.
that's
Well,
a
it's good
good
to know that the
clarification.
people in our area are not interacting incorrectly with animals and causing you to
Yeah,
have to
I'm
do
pleasant.
Yeah.
I'm pleasantly
coordination.
surprised. Yeah.
That is a big surprise to me.
We're not trying to take pictures or selfies with the big fluffy cow.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
appreciate
thank
that.
you.
It's a good ending.
First, thank you for the surprise. This was fun.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Did not have any idea where we were going when you showed up in your cute little outfit, and I was
Cute
like,
little
"This
outfit.
is perfect." So we hope you got a lot of good nuggets out of the chaos that was this episode because of me, not because of the trained professionals in the room.
In his cute little outfit, as you
His
say.
uniform.
That's why he went into law enforcement, I think. Probably. Cute little outfit.
Doesn't have to decide what
I
to
think she
wear
was
when he
calling you
wakes
the
up.
professional.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, folks, if you are ever in trouble in the mountains, make the call sooner rather than later. Don't try to be the tough guy. Don't
be
they'll
Robert,
show
your
up
husband.
and put you over your shoulder and save you.
That's right.
So that is the thing to know. So long as they have the information, use the tips and tricks to stay safe in the mountains. Be prepared. And until we see your bright, smiling, happy, healthy, beautiful face in our fine city, we do hope you're creating amazing, safe memories with your friends and family wherever you might be. We'll see you soon.
We're No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing damn town.